I think my initial thought was, okay, so they got robbed and they decided to say more was stolen than was stolen. Not nice, not right, but you can kind of see people doing it. But here's the thing. It looks like no robbery happened. And my thing is this, okay? First of all, she's wearing the jewelry that she claimed was stolen this season. Now, this happened before filming last season. You mean to tell me that the other women on Potomac weren't suspicious that Wendy had a robbery in her home that she never really posted about? She only spoke about it in one place, which was an interview with Gibson, because there had been an article in TMZ and he asked her about it. Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers? How are you, Amanda?
Hi, B. Hi, cocktailers.
I know we have a lot to cover. There are a lot of criminals and they need our attention. I just first want to take a moment to acknowledge Diane Keaton's passing. I feel like I know about Amanda, and I feel like our listeners are very aligned to us. This one really hit me. We grew up watching her. I grew up watching her. She was a magnificent actress, but beyond that, for me, she just had an incredible magnetic energy. And I was really affected by it. And there was another time I can remember recent that I was very affected, and that was Robin Williams when he passed. And I also think with him, it was also his cause of death, which was suicide, which really made it hurt that much more. And I started thinking to myself, like, this kind of isn't normal that, like, I was so mopey all day and, like, you know, truly grieving. And then I saw a quote, and I wanted to share it with you guys if you've ever felt this way about the loss of whether it was Diane Keaton or Robin Williams or any celebrity who was special to you. And the quote said, "It's okay if Diane Keaton's death is hitting you harder than you expected. When someone's art, humor, or presence has become a part of your life for years, even from afar, their loss is personal. Maybe you grew up watching her movies with family. Maybe she reminded you that you could be quirky, emotional, imperfect, and still lovable. The connection matters. Grief doesn't require a personal relationship. It just requires that someone meant something to you. So if you're feeling sad, nostalgic, or off today, that's completely valid."
I know. I feel like I have a lot of things to say. I do agree with you in that it hit me hard. You have to think about, especially kind of with our generation, Diane Keaton, her name has always been up there with the best actresses of our time. But what I always really liked about Diane Keaton and noticed from a young age is that, you know, yes, Diane was an icon, but I want to say almost an iconoclast. And I say that in the most flattering of ways.
What does that mean?
Iconoclast, it means a person who is known for kind of going against the grain. There are biblical connotations to that too, and that's not what I mean. And that's why I'm saying I mean it in the most flattering of ways. Like Steve Jobs was considered an iconoclast. Like somebody who
like a pioneer?
Yeah, but somebody who does it their own way and is known for that. And that's what I've always thought, because I have noticed that. And like I said, from a young age, that she really wrote her own rules about her fashion, about the way she carried herself, the roles that she chose to accept. I always looked up to her as that person who forged her own path in Hollywood, because you and I were not part of the Hollywood world, but we're smart enough to know that sexy and, you know, that's what tends to get attention in Hollywood. And I can imagine there was probably, and she never talked about this, but there was probably a lot of pressure to dress sexier, to take sexier roles. So I
want to read her book, because I wonder if did you read it? Because I wonder if she spoke about that in it. I feel like she might have.
Yeah. And so I would love to hear more about that, because that was something I always really looked up to her. And literally as a kid, seeing that she would wear the big baggy pants and have that very cool kind of almost menswear fashion that literally nobody else wore or did or stood for. And so I always respected the hell out of that. So rest in peace, Diane Keaton. We will really miss you. Okay.
So last week, we decided, okay,
Let's
guys,
let's talk about how much our words mean.
I want you to know that at 4 p.m. on October 8th, Amanda and I sat, and you guys heard it. You heard us go on and on about what lovely stand-up people Wendy and Eddie Osefo are. So imagine my shock when in my DMs prior to TMZ posting it was some sort of document allegedly looking like they had all these indictment and charges against them. And I'm not a huge AI person. I'll be very honest with you guys. I'm not, as you know, I'm not hugely tech savvy. I'm not really AI, but I put it into my Google and I clicked AI, news, like all the things. And I didn't see anything. So thank you to whomever works in the courthouse that got me these records prior to anyone posting it publicly. And I only wish that I hadn't thought so highly of the Osefos because I literally didn't do anything. And within 10 minutes, because it was a while, and it was like troubling me. Like I was sitting around going, what was that? But there are all these AI accounts now, and we all see them on Facebook. I just saw one.
You assumed it was AI. You assumed it was an AI story and an AI mugshot because that was...
Well, and then when I saw the mugshot, I was like, this can't be real. Like I laughed. I was like, wow, if you're going to pick something, you could have at least made them look halfway normal. Oh no, that was their mugshot. So our little speech on how wonderful they were aged, I think it was about 12 hours.
12 hours. Milk lasts longer.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys, I'm sure you have at least heard about this, but last Thursday night, Wendy and her husband, so from Potomac, and her husband, Eddie, were indicted and arrested. Wendy on 16 counts, 7 of which were felony, and Eddie on 18 counts of insurance fraud and essentially misrepresenting to authorities what the charges were. And as time came out, like that day, Friday was absolutely nuts because, nobody had Eddie's reports charges yet. So I was able to find those. We're getting them on. We're working with Perry. We're going back and forth as we're getting more and more news. The sheriff in Carroll County did a Facebook Live press conference about this. Then as the day goes on, we're hearing more and more, and we're seeing more and more damning evidence, including emails between the two of them. We found out that $20,000 worth of merchandise that they reported was stolen was actually returned, that some of the jewelry reported as missing. Wendy was later photographed wearing it, things like that. So it doesn't look good. We'll just put it that way.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of you guys asked, like, how much time will they get? And we're going to get to Steve McBee, who was just sentenced today. I will get into it a little bit more, but I actually think his outcome might be good for them. But I digress. An attorney cocktailer let me know that if they get federally charged, they're looking at 6 months to 3 years. They will do time for wire fraud. It's very serious. Not sure about state law, but being indicted without your knowledge is never a good sign. Yeah. This attorney went on to say insurance fraud, state and federal wire fraud have different elements. They could be charged with both. They also have multiple counts of fraud. She said, so like simple fraud, first offenders, the typical sentence, 6 months to 3 years. She continued to say it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but these are very serious charges. And she wondered what kind of debts they had to do something so stupid. And actually, after she sent this to me, the authorities confirmed, I believe they worded it like incredible debt or
substantial. They said at the time they were in substantial debt. Yeah.
So here's and I know that there's a million ways we can go and a million questions we can ask. First of all, I'm shocked. I am stunned. I am the most surprised, and not everybody is, right? And this is just my perception. I am the most surprised by this of any of the big scandals we've had on Bravo. And the reason being is, first of all, Eddie is an attorney. So one would imagine that he wouldn't be putting in writing in emails to his wife, hey, we got to get these claims to our limit, which is 450. So what else can we throw on here? Like, what?
Because you just think he was just so sure they wouldn't get caught.
Well, I think, and again, when we had our Zoom, somebody pointed this out and it makes perfect sense, which is why I love our Zooms and I just love interacting with you guys.
By the way, we had, for those of you guys who didn't know, we did an emergency Zoom on Monday nights and there was a lot of this is what the majority of the conversation was about. And we have such talented and educated cocktailers. We had somebody weighing in from an attorney standpoint. We had somebody weighing in from an insurance company standpoint. So I just wanted to add that.
So when the first check cleared for the $25,000, I think that the assumption was, oh, the money's coming in. We're good. They believe it, which the people who work in insurance were on our Zoom. We're like, yeah, they'll send you checks, but they're actively working. And this is standard operating procedures. So if you file a claim, they have task force who start to look into it. And if everything looks legit, they probably stop. But when things aren't adding up, which they weren't adding, the police report didn't add up, just nothing added up. It doesn't look like there was any break-in at all. It looks completely staged, which I think initially, and this is based on a press conference and other details that have come out, and I won't bore you by going into all the details. We'll just try to do a summary. But I think my initial thought was, okay, so they got robbed and they decided to say more was stolen than was stolen. Not nice, not right, but you can kind of see people doing it. But here's the thing. It looks like no robbery happened. And my thing is this, okay? First of all, she's wearing the jewelry that she claimed was stolen this season. Now, this happened before filming last season. You mean to tell me that the other women on Potomac weren't suspicious that Wendy had a robbery in her home that she never really posted about? She only spoke about it in one place, which was an interview with Gibson, because there had been an article in TMZ and he asked her about it. She spoke about it nowhere else. She never mentioned it during the season, and this happened right before she picked up filming for last season. To me, that's the biggest indication that on top of all the evidence that the authorities told us they had, her not making it a storyline is because she didn't want to focus on something that wasn't legitimate.
Well, yeah, because, we know too, just from talking to Real Housewives and hearing them interviewed, before a season filming starts, they sit down with the production team to talk through what their possible storylines are. So they would have had this conversation with production too.
But because it isn't about the robbery. Right.
Yeah. So production would have been like, do you want to talk about this? And then she would have had to say no.
And maybe she said something like, no, because I don't want my children seeing it. I don't want them being scared. There are legitimate reasons you could say, none of which I believe. I believe what was her storyline? Quitting being a professor, which, by the way, she technically didn't because she was fired from Wesleyan University. She was still teaching a social media class. What was her storyline? Making up with her in-laws, kind of, not really. They were at a party and...
Yes, we're about to find out. We're going to have our magnifying glasses out and watching her. Again, this also always makes me think in a situation like this, is all of the footage going to be subpoenaed? Will there be, the audacity just never stops being shocking to me in cases like this. That I think the other really interesting thing to point out was that authorities were called and were immediately suspicious because there was no dirt that would have been on an intruder's feet that would have come in from coming in on the roof, like they had said. When the investigators were coming in and out to see how the quote unquote intruder would have done it, they were tracking stuff in. They were immediately suspicious, because the other thing is there's never been a robbery in their neighborhood, which would raise eyebrows, and then for Wendy, anyway, we will all be watching. I do feel like, and I said this on the Zoom the other night, but I do start to wonder what Bravo does from here. I feel like we're kind of a crossroads as far as Bravo continuing to platform people who are allegedly...
Can I say something though?
Sure.
I kind of have a little bit of a different perspective.
Okay.
I remember back to when Jackie Goldschneider first joined New Jersey, and she said, like, about Teresa, if you could control your husband, do you think he'd be in jail? And then she revealed that her parents had been arrested for tax evasion and her father served 6-month sentence. Is it possible that the Lisa Barlow lawsuit, that the serve a few month situations, that tax evasion, is it possible that these things are kind of more common than we know, but maybe we don't realize it because people end up with short sentences or they're able to just do probation or supervised or obviously pay debts, like we'll get to McBee and hit the millions he has to pay. But is it possible that fraud is much more common than we realize? And it's just that people are not, like, are people we know have, like, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I do.
Are we the only one paying the right amount of taxes, Amanda? Cooler days call for layers that last, and Quince is my go-to for quality essentials that feel cozy, look refined, and won't blow your budget. Think $50 Mongolian cashmere, premium denim that fits like a dream, and luxe outerwear you'll wear year after year. These are the pieces that'll turn into your full uniform. By working directly with ethical, top-tier factories, Quince skips the middlemen and offers prices 50% less than similar brands. And their home goods are amazing as well. I recently ordered their Italian olive wood utensil set. It's a classic wooden spoon set, under $50. They are beautiful and high quality. I love them so much. My plan is to gift them to family of mine who love to cook this holiday season. Find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/cocktails for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's quince.com/cocktails to get free shipping and 365-day returns. QUINCE.com/cocktails. Quince.com/cocktails.
Hey y'all, this episode of Cocktails and Gossip is brought to you in part by CBDX. And if you've been tossing and turning at night, this is for you. A lot of us hit a point where sleep just changes. It's harder to fall asleep. We wake up in the night and we start the day already tired. It's not just in your head. Sleep struggles are common, especially when stress and long days pile up. That's why so many people are discovering the power of cannabinoids. Yes, cannabinoids can be fun, but the benefits go way beyond recreation. People are using them to manage stress, ease discomfort, support mood, and finally get real rest. And here's the thing. A lot of people used to turn to a glass of wine or a nightcap to wind down. But more and more, people are choosing our healthier, natural alternative, one that actually supports better sleep instead of disrupting it. That's where CBDX's lights out, sugar-free, THC, and CBN sleep gummies come in. CBDX gummies are made for restorative sleep, not partying. Each blends indica-based THC for relaxation, CBN for sleep quality, plus glycine, chamomile, L-theanine, and just 1 milligram of melatonin. So I have taken CBDX Lights Out sugar-free gummies a few times now, and so has my husband. And you know those nights where you just know you're got a lot going on, a lot on your mind? Those are the nights that I have taken it, and I have to tell you, I drifted off, I stayed asleep, and I woke up feeling great. And so did my husband. CBDX gummies are naturally sweetened with monk fruit. No chemicals, no weird aftertaste. You take one, drift off gently, stay asleep, and wake up clear-headed. No hangover, no grogginess. And CBDX is not just about sleep. They've got THC sativa blends for creativity, hybrids for balance, indicas for deep relaxation, and premium non-THC gummies with cannabinoids like CBG, CBD, CBC, and CBN, each with unique wellness benefits. So if you're ready to feel better every day, visit CBDX.com and use code GOSSIP for 20% off your first order. CBDX, plant-powered wellness you can trust. CBDX.com, code GOSSIP. 20% off your first order. Get the sleep you deserve. I mean, I personally do not know anybody who has been to prison.
That you know of.
I mean, I think I do.
I know people who've been to prison.
I know people who have been to like county jail, but
that's like the sober tank you're talking about.
What? Not you, Amanda? Prison. It was not me. No, I have never. Think about it. I have never been arrested. Oh my gosh! Don't even put that out there. That's scary to me. I would not last.
I would last drunk in like a lockup tank, but I wouldn't last beyond that.
But like other prison means you have been sentenced and you like it's not like lockup where you get thrown in the drunk tank or you whatever. I'm saying prison.
Okay,
right? I do not know anybody.
Let's put this in perspective. What I'm saying is, how many housewives are there over the course of the start, from one season wonders to whatever? Got to be over 100.
Yeah,
4 or 5 of them or like have legal issues. You got the McBees now. You got Teresa.
If you think about it, there's that Fraud Watch or Bravo Fraud Watch. It's forget the name. I apologize.
Okay, I don't think drunk driving.
Yeah, and Luann didn't go to prison,
which is something that has likely happened to people that you know, and they don't publicize it because your first offense usually is a slap on the wrist, a suspended license, and no one's going to be like, hey, by the way, did you know I went to jail for a DUI? Unless you're their employer, how would you know? So I'm talking actual Jen Shah and Eddie and Wendy, Teresa Giudice. There's only 3 or 4 of them out of hundreds of housewives. And I don't even mean housewives. I mean like the Southern Charm, the Southern Hospitality. Like,
right.
If you put it in that perspective, because everyone's like, oh, it's the pipeline to whatever, but you're also dealing with wacky personalities. So when you consider they're people more likely to do crazy shit.
And that's what I was going to say,
No one's casting me.
No
one's casting boring people. You're casting very outgoing, delusional people.
I mean, do they want to just hear about how I'm carpooling like 3 hours a day on certain days a week? No.
If people listen to our conversations that weren't like talking about reality stars, they would be bored to tears.
I think
but that's most people's lives, and that's why they're not on TV.
Right.
So I do think that like fraud and not paying taxes and getting audited and owing money, I think it's more common than you realize.
I think you are starting to touch on something that I think it's a little bit more of a chicken and egg thing. Because yes, I think there's a certain kind of personality that gets drawn to being on reality television. I also think that when it comes to some of this tax kind of stuff, some of these reality stars, are all of a sudden paid all this money all at once, and they're not paid on, like a regular salary paycheck. They're paid as contractors. So it's all at once, and it's their job to then hold aside the taxes, which is where, I can see how that would happen for some of those people. But I also think, too, some of these people get so caught up into living this lifestyle and wearing these head-to-toe Fendi jumpsuits and Balenciaga everything that they have to turn to crime. Because the reality is most people...
They're left with no choice.
Well, I mean, or they just don't wear it, or they wear fakes. And I think, the vast majority of people cannot afford all designer everything. It's a 1% kind of situation. And so I can see, but I do think that there is a certain personality type that gets attracted to being on television like this. Yes. And I think those people tend to be a little bit more willing to do whatever it takes to stay in the spotlight. And they, I'm guessing we know the Osefos got into some substantial debt.
Well, let's move on to Steve McBee. Yes. Very much knew that he was committing insurance fraud on his farm when he signed up for a reality show.
So today he was sentenced, if you guys will remember. So Steve McBee Sr. is, was the dad, essentially, of all of the boys, was not featured almost at all, just barely in season 2.
We saw him at the wedding.
Yes,
Jesse.
heavily featured in season 1. And now we had learned that the reason being for that is because he was under federal investigation, which he then pled guilty to insurance, again, crop insurance fraud. And so that had happened earlier this year. And part of that deal is when he did get sentenced, that his sentence would not be eligible for early release due to good behavior, which so many people's are, as we've seen most recently with Karen Huger, and we know Jen Shaw's getting out right around Thanksgiving, which is next month. Wild. So he took it, the deal that he took said that, he must have given more, I'm guessing, so that he can't have his sentence lessened due to good behavior. But also I read that his boys cannot be tried for this crime as well.
I would like to give credit to him where credit's due. I like that.
Yeah.
At least he took the hit for the boys.
Yeah. And that's assuming we know if the boys were involved or not. And Galena would be the one that I would be the most suspicious about knowing.
He took the hit for her too.
I think he did. But yeah, he also, 24 months in prison, and he has to pay over $4 million in restitution.
So when I posted it, which was just moments ago, but of course, immediately some of the comments were, which means he'll be out in a year due to good behavior. But you're saying that's not possible because...
That's what I read.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, I believe that, I have no first-hand knowledge of prison. I'm told that everything is really overcrowded, so who knows?
My understanding is Steve McBee's, and again, it's obviously different states. It's Missouri versus Maryland. My understanding is the McBee insurance case was on a much larger scale than Wendy and Eddie's. Would I be correct in that? Yes. Like theirs was like millions, obviously, if he owns 4.
Yeah, I think the claim was like $3 million. And yeah, the Osefos was either 200,000 or 400,000. I keep reading both. But you have to remember too, like I don't remember how many counts that Steve went up for. But yeah, another issue, it's not just insurance fraud, it's also false reporting to authorities that the Osefos are also on the hook for, I believe.
But I would imagine Steve probably lied to the authorities too, no?
No, because I don't want to say just, that makes it sound like I'm justifying it, but he just turned in a false claim because it was about his crops that they didn't. Sure. From what I read, the issue was that he said that his crops died, but they actually did it, and he sold them kind of under the table elsewhere, and then did the claim, which was also by saying, I planted all this, but it didn't come. I need the insurance money. Because it didn't.
And one wonders how many times Stevie Boy has done this and gotten away with it. Because remember, he was on the show talking about it. And they're mad at me because I have another insurance claim.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, and I do happen to know a little bit about, just a tiny bit, as I've had like family and family friends that has been in farming. Insurance claims are part of farming. It is a part of the deal. Herds of cows get out and then go missing or get stolen, things, or the weather, there's droughts, like these things do happen, which is why it's there, but you can't take advantage of it.
Got it.
What I don't know is if he's immediately having to report to prison, like did he go immediately, or if he has that time? Yeah, it does happen.
The results came out, and we were happy enough that we had the result to share, but I didn't get a chance to really dive into the detail.
Yeah, literally breaking news just now. Okay,
so we do have good news, guys. It's not all doom and gloom.
Yes. Where do you want to go next?
I want to go to NextGen.
Okay. You guys know it's been the most viewed Bravo show, the most viewed premiere. So we know that they've got a hit. We've gotten emails saying like Bravo and NBC Universal are going all in on NextGen. They feel like it's their next big series, their next big franchise. So we mentioned this last week. We heard that Riley Burruss, so Candy Burruss's daughter from Atlanta, may not be coming back. And then we did get a confirmation from our sources that she's not currently filming, not meaning that she might not be brought in later, but that she's not currently filming we had heard that she asked for a lot of money, which we both said good for her.
So I went on a whole rant. Was that last week that I went on that I decided that if it's true that she's not filming, I think she asked for a big check because I had a theory that maybe I'm not saying she's immediately leaving New York, but maybe, listen, most successful show on Bravo, if you say yes, you're kind of tying yourself to New York for years.
Yeah.
So I was thinking she may try to hold out for big money, cameras picked up and she's not filming. That doesn't necessarily mean she's not filming all season. So I don't want us to see her and you be like, oh, I'm just letting you know she was holding out for big money. So let's see where that goes. It does make me feel sad though. So I had this whole theory, and you guys heard it, I think, about how maybe she's going to be the face of Atlanta. Because listen, the next season, 2026, we're going to see NextGen LA. And then after that, they're going to keep rolling them out because it's very popular. And I feel like Atlanta's a great city. And I feel like Riley maybe was holding out to be the face of that one.
Yeah.
Which, if it's a couple years away, the other argument is she could have done, and she still could do the second season and then transition. So let's see. But I'm kind of bummed if she chooses not to film all season. And the reason I'm bummed is because, unfortunately, we had posted in Cocktail for our subscribers that Ariana and her boyfriend Hudson had broke up. And sadly, that is true.
Yeah, they put out a statement earlier this week. Both of them did. So I actually have a question for you. And this is not, I'm not asking for your inside knowledge. I am asking for what you think. Do you think the breakup had something to do with the marriage, with her saying, I want to get married after we've been together by a certain, what is that word? Why am I struggling? When she said, if we don't get married, if we don't get engaged by X, I'm out. Do you think it had something to do with that?
I think the pressure may have been there. I've been hearing rumors, and I don't have any confirmation that we may see a Gia engagement. That's just a rumor. And there is that thing, and I think we can all remember when we were younger, or if you are younger, sometimes when one friend gets engaged or one person in the social group, because I'm not saying they're best friends, but they're obviously spending time together, other friends do feel the pressure like, well, why isn't he proposing to me? And I know in my life it did lead to splits.
Yeah.
I also think we heard a lot first season about how Ariana was responsible for helping Kim financially. We know that Hudson often was helping Ariana financially. So if he was helping Ariana financially, he was helping Kim financially. So I think that was added stress. We don't know Hudson's family, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if he comes from wealth, his parents were likely not pleased that he was supporting his girlfriend's mother.
Yeah. I can't imagine most families would feel that way.
And when your family is not fully on board or approving, it affects you. So I think it was a combination of a lot of factors. Maybe it was a situation where Hudson didn't want to break up, but he wasn't ready for a marriage commitment because of the difficult situation they were in with Kim, and they called it. I really like them together, and they are both very young. So I think, and they've had an on and off relationship, and, they were very honest about that.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know if this is a forever thing, but I do hear that he's not filming. So I venture to say he's no longer in New York. She posted a video today moving into a new apartment, and Riley posted, can't wait for our apartment. I think that was a joke. I think Riley lives in Brooklyn, and I think Ariana may have moved to Brooklyn. And I'm sure Riley said it as like, ooh, we'll have a place, just your girl's spot. Because in the video, Ariana says, this is the first time I've ever been the only one on a lease, and I'm living on my own. So I'm thinking maybe Riley wasn't planning on filming. Do you think Ariana can convince her to come back because now her and Hudson are split?
I would watch that show. I hope so. So we have to talk about Kim. Zolciak.
We have to talk. Oh, wait, just because a lot of people always ask about Charlie.
Yes.
I do hear Charlie's filming. I don't see him on the list for BravoCon.
Yeah.
But I do hear he's filming. I just have to say, it's rare, I think, that we have this person. But while Charlie is a good reality television protagonist, he's not exactly the guy that people are dying to see at a meet and greet. So I think he's the person who can get away with not doing BravoCon but filming. Does that make sense?
I think, yes. But I think that Bravo knows that he's not a Craig, right?
No.
But I will tell you guys, as far as the most searched thing on our website right now still is Charlie Zakor and Charlie Zakor's parents and things about him. So I think there's a lot of fan interest. I just think that he's probably like, let's be honest, I'm not going to be your BravoCon stooge, which makes him an interesting reality person.
It really does.
Okay, so Kim Zolciak. I love it when there's a story that is really just like a little thing that a cocktailer sends us, and then it comes back and turns into a much bigger thing. I don't know if you saw this. Us Weekly this week reported that Kim Zolciak is being subpoenaed by a man named Kyle by his wife, I guess soon to be ex-wife, in their divorce. Because, you know, when you actually go to court, you can call witnesses, and saying that that he gave her gifts, and that she's saying that the ex-wife is saying that they had an affair. So we had a cocktailer who was on the plane with them, and she's like, I think they might be going to the same place. Ended up staying at the Baja Mar in the VIP. So do you want to read what this cocktailer told us? This was back in June.
I do. And thank you so much, cocktailer, for reminding me of this, because I didn't even remember and put it together. Okay. So back in June, I get a DM, and again, this was in Cocktail Party, and it said, first, the woman was on the plane with Kim. She's like, oh my God, I'm on the plane with Kim. I don't even, oh wait, here, it's all in this. Let me read it. B, I'm staying at the VIP section of Baja Mar, Nexus. Met Kim Zolciak. She's staying here with a Croy lookalike. I overheard her calling him Kyle. And her daughter Brielle and Brielle's boyfriend are here too. Kim's super nice, actually. She was definitely being loud, almost like she wanted to be recognized. The VIP area she's staying in is the same area the Southern Charm people stayed. That was last season when they stayed there. Kim was calling the guy with her babe the whole night. I had actually totally forgotten about this. Oh wait, that's me saying it. So this same person saw her on the plane with the guy, and she was like all lovey-dovey on the plane. I had totally forgotten about this blind. Like, we post so many times a day. So when you guys remind me, don't remind me. Because sometimes, Amanda, people be like, I'm sorry if I'm being annoying, but remember when you posted? And I'm like, that is never annoying.
God bless those people.
Because I don't remember. Like, there are so many times you guys remind us that we already had stuff posted.
Yeah.
So thank you to our loyal subscribers who
seriously
are our memories.
As people with better memories than we have.
Yes.
It's a collective brain. Okay, so the minute I saw that guy's picture when I was reading this article, I was like, he is like a less buff Croy. So today,
I don't think he's as cute as Croy, but I mean, no,
the same coloring, kind of peaches and cream skin, call it fair, reddish blonde hair. So today in TMZ, and you posted the article, TMZ reported that Croy called the wife, so the wife who's going through this divorce, to warn her about Kim. And he told her that Kim would, quote unquote, drain money from Kyle, the husband, and that Kim had already put Instacart grocery deliveries on his card. Croy called Kim a narcissist with a gambling problem who was never around for her children. And this is what he told the woman. Obviously cold, but when you go, you guys know I'm divorced. I can never imagine ever calling somebody, like, I would not, it just makes me think like either Croy went out of his way to call this woman. He's either mad or he still has feelings, because why else would you do that? Like, it just makes him look crazy.
First of all, I don't think you're married to someone like Kim Zolciak for as long as Croy was and have 4 kids with her, and you're not also crazy. You guys know. You already know that I don't think you can be married to somebody and not be. Of course, there's personality differences as far as like, she's outgoing, he's more reserved, but I think that your morals are generally aligned. I don't think I'd ever thought that Jen Shah's husband wasn't okay with what she did. They never got divorced. Like, he clearly, you know what I'm saying? I don't believe that people's can be in long-term relationships like that without, in other words,
knowing who the other person really is.
Right. Croy knew who she was.
Croy, but like, I'm just saying Croy is almost the crazier one in this situation because, like I said, like I could never imagine that just is not something I would never do. I can't.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of footage when the cops were always called to his house where he was acting psychotic and erratic too. I don't think Croy's so normal.
No,
I think that on television, the Croy that we saw was very curated and very like, it almost pisses me off when someone is like that. Like to where everybody calls Kim crazy and knew Kim was this and Kim was that. Oh, but Croy's so great. Oh, Croy's just like her. He just knows how to play it off. At least Kim's honest about who she is and wears it on her sleeve. And I do think it's sad, and I hope it's not true that she's not there for her children. I mean, that
I wrote that part. I wrote that off though, as somebody who's either still mad or still has feelings and is still trying to control. It just came off as
well. Also, if that was true, I think he would have been able to win full custody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. And because the kids are old enough that they can talk about it, and if the kids would say if she's never there. So yeah.
So Kim stays in the newsfeed. The old girl stays in the news. Good for her. I do have some OC reunion intel, and I actually have some stuff I was told I could only talk about on the pod, but couldn't put in writing. I like that. I love that, but I don't because then we forget we did it. First, cocktailers know this, but Slade and Ryan did not show at the reunion. So they were scheduled along with Matt, Katie Janela's husband, to come out, but they did not show. First, what are your thoughts on that?
So we talked a little bit about this before. It definitely seems shady. I questioned, though, whether could Ryan not coming have something to do with him and Jen's relationship?
Oh, we did cover this.
Yeah.
So here's the part that we didn't. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But I think it's very telling. And I do think it's interesting that we're the only ones that have reported. So other people have shared that little snippet from our podcasts, but we definitely have been the exclusive on this.
So here's the other tea, and I have a bunch. I was just going through my DMs. So you guys might have noticed that Gretchen posted something the day after the reunion filming. Like, today was a good day. Apparently, Tamara was very much in the hot seat, which was kind of unexpected. I think we expected Gretchen to get the heat, and I don't specifically know, but it was not a good day for Tamara. And what I'm hearing is regards to Katie coming back is, the source is very in tune, we'll say that. They said they think it's 50-50. They think it'll depend on how fans feel about Katie after the reunion. Producers definitely did listen to fan reaction to Katie getting bullied off the show, specifically production focused on Emily and Gina doing that.
Yeah.
And confessionals had wrapped for the season, but production decided to have them come back to film one more about a week or two before the reunion. So the girls all filmed in confessional just a week or two before the reunion. Now, we know that over the course of those weeks that the show's been airing, a lot has changed. So it seems, and this is just my opinion, but based on all of this information, it seems to me that they're kind of doing that to press Emily and Gina on why they pushed Katie out, make them explain themselves a little bit more. Because I think that's what fans want to hear.
I think that makes sense because I have been thinking about, okay, if Katie ends up staying on the show, how is that all going to work in terms of filming and having the group accept her again? Because knowing, that there's been all this going on behind the scenes, but then watching the last week's episode and seeing Emily really freaking out about Tamara talking to Katie, I'm wondering if as Emily was doing that, the reason she was actually freaking out was not that Tamara actually was talking to Katie, but because Emily realized she went too far and might have pushed herself out of the show instead of Katie.
Well, because let's look at how it would line up. So we know that Tamara and Katie would be together because Tamara's the one pushing for her back on the show. I venture to say Heather sitting next to Katie on the reunion couch, because that reunion couch was also a big shock.
Right.
I venture to say Heather sitting next to Katie on the reunion couch means that Heather is willing to kind of start anew with Katie, okay? Because if Tamara kind of pushes her to it and Heather recognizes that the audience likes her, and I guess Heather can 2 seasons later get over the "you took paparazzi" picture.
Heather, right? That's never gonna like her though. She is never.
No, but
she's always gonna hold a grudge.
She could not actively go for her, and I think that Heather very much does not want to be. And I don't want to make it sound like I think Heather is. Heather disliking Katie, in my opinion, was never at all racially motivated. But if the optics are, as Katie being the only POC woman on the cast, being pushed out, I think that Heather would, more than anything, not want to be seen at all bigoted. We know how much she is a staunch supporter of the LGBT community, and she would never want to look like somebody who in any way was bigoted, race, gender, sexual orientation. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So I think that, okay, we got Heather, we got Tamara, we got Katie. If we get Vicky back full time, she'll go where Tamara goes, because her and Shannon, there's some weird thing happening there. Tamara is pushing to get Alexis back. I hope it doesn't go. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing. On the other side, we have Shannon, who I think likely will be demoted. Emily, Gina, Jen, Gretchen. If Gretchen's back, which I hope not.
I hope not.
Shannon demoted. You have Emily, Gina, Jen.
It seems like whatever has happened between Jen and Katie is still happening.
Right. So then I'm just going to hop back to Friends, because that was a real friendship that really had a big issue. Stay tuned, guys, because I will be posting in our subscription site the more I hear, because I do have very good OC sources. But like I said, Katie is 50-50, and I guess it comes down to, and you said it at the top of the OC conversation, does she have enough support outside of Tamara to be a real player in the game? Because she's not a seasoned housewife, and she's not good at maneuvering the way Tamara is and turning people on each other. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we will have to see the fan reaction after the reunion, because the fans rallied for her. And then when she was off the show, people kind of forgot about her.
I don't miss her. And going back to, I understand that I'm speaking from my position as a white woman, right? And I understand that there's been a lot of privilege that has come with that. But I know there's been a lot of conversation about there being racial motivations. I don't really agree with that, at least not from what we have seen on camera. You know, there's so much that we haven't. So obviously that is not what we can't react to what we haven't seen. I just think that I think Katie came in to trying to play a sophisticated housewife and sniper from the side and failed horribly at it. And I just think the lack of authenticity is not something that, you know, the audiences do well with. And so honestly, I want to see that she's been given a fair chance, but I don't miss her since she's been off.
I kind of want her back. So I think we're going to disagree on this.
Okay.
I think she's got another season in her. I'm willing to give her another shot. And I like looking at her. Like, she's so pretty, and she does this so well.
She does. She has great taste. I agree with all of that. I just don't, it's just like going back and looking at those interviews where Wendy Osefo was on, it's Gibson Johns, I think is his name, when he was interviewing her. She kept looking up and to the right when he is asking her about the robbery. And I just don't feel like Katie, I'm not saying I think she's a liar. I just think that she's tried to orchestrate stuff and is bad at it. And I don't like it. I don't, if you're going to orchestrate it, I guess be so good at it that I don't realize you're doing it.
I feel that. I hear you. I think I want her back because I don't really see the value in Emily and Shannon being there anymore. So it's like, get rid of them. Let's give Katie another shot, and let's get a couple new people in there, or other OGs, Vicky, whatever. Before we have to talk about Jersey, because
oh my gosh, yes,
it's just don't quit. So a few weeks ago on Jeff Lewis Live, you guys already know this, Teresa was asked if she was willing to make amends with her brother, her sister-in-law, and Margaret. She was open to the idea. A few days later on a red carpet, Melissa and Joe were asked. They said, this is news to us. She has not reached out to us, so she's saying this on podcast, but there's been no olive branch. So Teresa must have heard that. She went out on her pod and let us know, hey, I texted my brother. We've been texting. Joe then confirmed, yep, and said on the Ed's podcast that if his sister comes to him humbly, he'd be willing, and open to a conversation. She's family. He'll never say never to not speaking to his sister. He acknowledged that he was never the one who said the door was closed, but that he feels that she would need to acknowledge wrongdoing, and they he'd be open to it. So we got an email. I'm going to read it. A Gorga family affair. Executives at Siren Media are in talks with Teresa, Melissa, and Joe Gorga to film their much-anticipated sit-down. If everything comes together as planned, the expectation is that production will move forward. Everyone's been giving them time to work through things privately, and there's growing optimism that they'll make amends and move towards a fresh start for the Real Housewives of New Jersey. If reconciliation happens, expect Teresa, Melissa, and Dolores to return alongside some new faces, with Margaret, Jackie, and Jen Fessler most likely rounding out the cast. I gotta tell you, Jackie and Jen keep getting thrown into these emails. They are not confirmed by sources. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying the other stuff I've heard from both email and source, Jackie and Jen just email. But I'll finish. FYI, as of now, Louis is not in talks to film. And this part I only put in cocktail. Exclusive. Teresa also reached out to her cousin, Kathy Wakili. I am so fucking down. I don't care. They were replaying season where they were in the Dominican Republic with the Manzos. It's when Teresa and Juicy Joe first started making amends with Melissa and Joe in Punta Cana, and then they did a photo shoot with their parents. It was gold. The Kathy drama of this. I don't know if so many years have passed, if they could bring that magic back. Why not give it a shot? I'll watch.
I will too. So this is all making sense to me because if you'll remember, we have, and you guys, I think we've told you this, but we have some pretty good sources with Jersey as well. And, you know, we've been talking about test filming, and then we've been talking about how the cameras were supposed to go up before the holidays. And then we hear Teresa on Jeff Lewis Lives. We should do a timeline of this, by the way, B. Then we hear Teresa go on Jeff Lewis saying, oh, you know, I would be willing to reconcile or open to reconciling. And then shortly we hear, wait a second, cameras are now not going to go up until after the holidays. So it all makes sense to me. I think there's nothing, I think Teresa will absolutely do it. Now I'm just trying to figure out how will this all go down. So they meet privately and then they film a sit down where they kind of each go through their arguments. How does that part work?
So a lot of people are like, we don't want to see that. They need to figure it out privately. I, however, want to see the actual conversation. I don't want them meeting before. I mean, and I'm going to throw Teresa a bone here. I said it on the Zoom the other night. I think it's very easy for us all to say, oh, she's only doing this for a check. And certainly there is an aspect to that. But I think that when she made the decision not to go, it was on the heels of her brother and sister-in-law not attending her wedding. Now, I am not saying that they didn't have reason to be upset with her and make the choice not to attend. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I have to imagine how hurtful it was for her.
Yeah.
Whatever she had done, whatever their reasons were, which were all valid, the reality of her brother not giving in to her and attending her wedding, in light of the fact that her parents are gone, she doesn't have extended family. The only cousin she had, she doesn't speak to. And so now she's 3 years removed from that. She hasn't seen them. The press nonsense has largely stopped. They're not slinging mud at each other anymore. And was watching last night. They were replaying the season, like I said, where they made up. And there was genuine sibling affection there. And sibling relationships can be very complicated. And thank God my father is very much alive and well. My mother is gone. And I can't imagine not having either of my parents and not speaking with my sibling. I think no matter how mad you are, you would get to a point where you at least try, and you don't have to be at every holiday together. And the days of play dates are over for the cousins. But if they could be civil, if they could have a situation where they meet at a restaurant and they just have a casual dinner and the kids come and it's just order some food, have some wine, not get too deep into it. The problem is on reality TV, I don't know how that plays out, but I don't know. I don't think it's fair to say that Teresa only wants it for the check. I think it is very much possible that 3 years later, she misses her brother. And I don't know what's going on in her marriage, but I do know that she continues to have financial issues, as does her husband, and she has a lot of stress. And maybe I don't want to even go there. Maybe things aren't so hot on the home front for her. I don't know.
I have a question, though. Okay. Because first of all, I want to say, I think with Joe, as you said, never said the doors closed. I think for him, he probably does want to reconcile, television or no. I think the fact that he is no longer in his niece's lives, I think must be really painful for him. My question for you, if you think that, let me give you a little situation. Teresa wins $200 million in the lottery tomorrow, no longer needs the check, no longer needs a check for life. Do you think she's as willing to do this in that case? Do you think she still wants to reconcile?
I think there's an incentive, obviously, for the show. But outside of the show, I always felt like Louis wouldn't want it. So I think it's a hard question to answer, because I think that if Louis said to her, you know what, it's your brother, forgive him. Yes, I do believe that with or without the show, she would want to. However, I think Louis is okay with it because of the check. So he's giving her the go-ahead because they need the check. But I honestly think, listen, Joe Giudice was never a huge fan of Joe Gorga's either, but he understood that it was her brother and he kind of let it go and moved on and whatever. He never Louis was really the one being like, and we'll never speak to them again. And then it became Teresa's script. But remember, they had arguably worse family fights and situations prior to Louis being there. And they always forgave and made amends. So I very much believe that, yes, I think Teresa would have been mad and maybe iced them out for a while, but I think she would have come around. I don't think she's ever going to fully love Melissa. I think there's always something there for whatever reason. There's a jealousy, there's a dislike, there's a distrust, there's something. I don't believe she places a lot of blame on her brother, even though in the media after the wedding she was saying that. To me, that was like Louis in her head. I don't really believe to answer your question, yes, I do believe she did, but I believe that Teresa's a woman who always follows her husband's lead. So when Joe was okay with her making up, she was able to do it. And when Louis wasn't, she wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Bravo knew what they were doing. They're putting pressure on all of these Real Housewives of New Jersey to work things out by using this long pause. And I think that is a tool that they'll continue to use. You know, like, you guys can't get along, you say you won't film with each other, then fine, we just won't have a show.
I wonder if she's willing to make amends with Marge. I feel like maybe she said to production, like, I'll move on with my brother, but if you have Marge on, I'm still at odds with her.
And whether Marge is willing, because...
Well, it says Louis not filming, which also, how is she going to do that? Where's Louis going to be?
I don't know. That part, I had the exact same thought. I was like, that doesn't seem right, because
let's suppose they do a thing like on Shah's where MJ and Reza made amends, but Tommy still wasn't able to move forward, and so he didn't film with Reza. Reza's a friend at the end of the day. Let's say that Teresa's line is like, I'm ready to move forward and have a relationship with my brother and Melissa, but Louis not. That's different. It's different if your husband's not. Mm-hmm. Right?
No, I mean, there's no way that Teresa I agree. She follows Louis. She follows her husband's lead. So Louis had to have given the blessing.
He gave the blessing. And I don't think that he wouldn't be able to fake it on camera to stay. I just think Bravo doesn't want him filming. And maybe Teresa just says, but you can't break the fourth wall and say, like, because of course, in the press, the spin is going to be Louis doesn't want to film, which we know isn't true. It's going to be that Bravo didn't want him to film, but she'll never admit that, which is fine. But I just don't know how you translate that to the show, because you can't be like, oh, my husband doesn't want to film, because you can't just sit there and talk about how you're filming. So I don't know. Let's see how it is very complicated, which is why it's taking so long. And I know we didn't get to the Miami because the Haitian mortician hadn't happened as of last week, because that's Thursdays.
Yes.
You're okay, guys, the Haitian mortician, we are going to wait for the third part of the reunion, and next week we're going to give a breakdown. But I just want to say, the glee on Julia's face as she's like backstage telling Andy about her rendezvous is like, what a fucking bitch. You say you don't have an open marriage. You say that your wife cried when you told her that you were going to discuss this at the reunion, and you're gleefully talking about, oh, it wasn't an affair, but oh no, you were just banging a Haitian mortician, which, by the way, I was sent the guy's Instagram. I will not post it. He is younger. He is married to a beautiful woman and has 2 kids. And just Julia gives me the fucking ick.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, for her to go on and on so insensitively right after admitting that her wife just cried about this.
Right.
It just, I can't imagine, like, when you deeply hurt somebody like that, to then just go on and just talk about it like in such a lighthearted manner to somebody else, and then on camera, she can go.
I don't know. Because like now, listen, do I believe that Martina is out here letting people know that she's getting divorced? No, Martina's a private person. Do I believe that somebody guessed that and they're probably right? Yeah.
Are you babies?
Those poor kids.
I know, because it is, as you know, it is a lot of work to raise kids and we should mention this, by the way, that the social worker, and we can go into this more next week, the social worker who we saw on video on the show, who is, working the case for the boys, has been going on social media and saying terrible things about pretty much everybody else.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but most social workers I know don't insert themselves in reality television and insult people.
It must have been this must have been like maybe she's a social, but like there must have been a higher situation, or that's not the real person working for the state, or I don't know. It's odd to me because I feel like the woman could lose her job. So
unless she's a contracted person paid for exclusively by Julia. We love you guys. Till next time.
Thanks, everybody.
What's up, cocktailers? We want to thank you, as always, for listening to Cocktails and Gossip. Because of you, we've hit some amazing milestones, had some hilarious conversations, and have grown a truly amazing community. If you haven't already followed our podcast, hit the follow button in the top right of your Apple Podcast player, the follow button under the show logo on Spotify, or the subscribe button on Google Podcasts. We thrive on you, our audience. So make sure to tell all your gossip-loving friends about us too. And if you want to get all the tea, join our membership cocktail party by going to bravoandcocktails.com/join. Our members get access to the exclusive tea we post, the weekly podcast without ads, plus another additional bonus podcast every week. And of course, members also get to join us on our monthly live cocktail party Zoom, where we talk about the latest tea and even share tea that's just too hot to put in writing. Last, but maybe best, our members get access to the Cocktail Party Discord, where you can chat with Amanda, me, and all of the other cocktailers as well. There are always some great convos and hilarious comments happening in Discord. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you.